Well,
dead serious.
Andrew Berry spoke at 10 o'clock this morning, and the reason Zach is not on today's show is because Zach was in Berea for that press conference.
Berea.
So, Zach, what did Mr. Berry have to say about the blockbuster deal that shook the NFL to its core yesterday?
Not a lot of truths, that's for sure.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
okay.
They keep saying with this story, like, we didn't want to trade Myles Garrett. We didn't want to trade Myles Garrett. Well, Myles Garrett was traded yesterday to the Rams, you know? So, look, the one thing that's clear is the focal point was Jared Verse. Like, the Browns were not, he was the get-in-the-door price. The Browns were not entertaining going down the road at all without Jared Verse being a part of it. He's young. He's under team control. He's a really good player. They called him Andrew Berry called him a DNA fit for how the Browns play defense. But there was no like, hey, we're going to trade Myles Garrett. Will you beat this price? There was none of that going around, which seems fishy. Now, there's a way you have to get these things done, and I think that the Rams were persistent. For years, I know they were, but specifically last couple of months. But really, it's Jared Verse, and then you wonder why they didn't get a little more. They couldn't get a little more. That discussion's going to go on. But the Browns were Jared Verse or nothing to advance the discussions.
Zach, when we spoke yesterday, we knew about the first-round pick in 27 in Verse. They got a 28 second. They got a 29 third. The Rams probably would have rather. I mean, Verse to me is worth at least a first-round pick, if not a little more in terms of value. Do you think they would have gotten 3 first-round picks if they had not taken Verse, or would have been in like 2 1s and a 2?
No, they would have never have gotten 3 first-round picks for Myles at 30 years old. And Andrew said that like when teams called last year in February 25, he just told them no. So we know and we know that kind of from what we've been told, the Browns basically said the price would be higher than you would ever go. So always one of the holdups. But at this price, you can translate it however you want. The Browns are in position to extend Jared Verse after this year. After this year is when the Browns start to get back towards cap health. And the Browns timeline that extends into 20 now. So all of those things add up. Well, they were never getting 3 first-rounders. They were probably not getting 2 first-rounders, something plus something else. So he settled on this price. I feel safe saying settled. I also saying it was, and they weren't going to do any better. So that's where the clash is. If you didn't want to trade Myles Garrett, you just wouldn't trade Myles Garrett. You'd hang up on teams like you did in February 25. They wanted to trade Myles Garrett, and Jared Verse is the centerpiece of what's coming back.
Zach, was there anything where behind the scenes the timing was a little awkward? It's like they're at the golf course and they're like, "Hey, by the way, we're finalizing this deal."
Yeah.
What catalyst was that? Like, was there an ultimatum? Was it gonna get leaked, or did Myles say, "Hey, I need to be gone by this date"? What was the catalyst for just how the news broke?
Yeah, that part is awkward, Garrett, but I think that's awkward like on the way out. That's awkward in the presentation. This deal was done last Friday and Saturday. And so, it can't publish on the NFL Wire until today. It couldn't go until after June 1st, not just on June 1st for the salary cap reasons. To me, the awkwardness of it was to avoid this dance. And that was part of the Browns that were just, realizing that them and Myles were not going to get on the same page. And that was timelines of building, and that was how they viewed this. So to not have to worry about him showing up or not showing up at minicamp. Now, they did put the head coach up there to talk, and that part was weird. End these questions to let Todd Monken go forward with his team, and for this to be completely in the background by the time they show up for camp in late July. So there is an awkwardness to G, but it's not really as tied to yesterday as it should be, just in kind of how it came out. Coach isn't going to talk for an hour.
All right, unfortunately, we got a bad connection with Zach. This is technology. It happens sometimes. So I wanted to try to ask him. Let's try one more question here, because we want to see, do you think Denzel Ward and Delpit are next, or not necessarily, Zach?
I think Denzel Ward has to be next in terms of exploring it. I don't know what's going to happen with Grant Delpit as he's coming off his best year and is coming into a contract year. Obviously, they drafted a safety. But yeah, I mean, Denzel Ward has not been here, and he's been a perfect attendance guy his entire career. He is signed for 2 more years. He is entering year 8 right? Or year 9. Year 9. Myles is entering year 10. That's just the reality of it. So it doesn't have to be now, but coming up to the deadline, yeah. So we'll see what they would get. It would not be a first rounder, but it could be part of a package that you're getting to build, and that's what this is going to be, guys. Like, I'm not sure if I was right when I said this, but I said you're either going to have to trade a whole draft or trade Myles Garrett to get a quarterback. It might have to be both, unless you land where you're going to land. So this 27 draft is a good place to have extra capital and to have some flexibility. And flexibility doesn't win you games, but clarity and flexibility to me are the driving forces behind doing this, and to partially answer G's question, behind doing it right now.
Well, the connection seemed to clear it up, so we're going to roll a little bit longer. What else did AB say today that stood out to you, other than we didn't want to trade him?
Yeah, it was the same Jared Verse answer over and over again, really. And it was just, kind of just talking about the planning. He said it's too early to talk quarterbacks and how we might spin these picks forward because we have a season to play. But they're not giving up on anything, and I kind of agree. The tank versus no tank argument's going to go on, and it's going to go on in this very show for many months. Yeah. But the Browns aren't necessarily tanking because they traded Myles Garrett. The Browns were tired of doing a dance they didn't think they could win with Myles Garrett. So the ceiling of the team and the defense is certainly low. But they're new. They're guys. Lean into Carson Schefter's been on player that he can be, and Jared Verse is the player that he think he can be. This can still be a good defense. Right now, it's about the offense. It's about Todd Monken, and it's about what other decisions need to be made. And certainly, Delpit and Ward are going to be at the forefront of those discussions. And until they're on the team, the hour after the trade deadline, we're going to assume that everybody is. Myles can be traded, then tradable. Very little certain with this Browns team going forward right now, outside of the guys who've been drafted in the last 15 months.
Zach, good stuff. Good insight there. We appreciate the time. We're going to bring it back right here. And unfortunately, we had a bad connection, so we couldn't get more with Zach. Yeah. But we got enough information. First of all, I don't know how many times we have to tell fans, don't listen to. But he said he wouldn't trade him. He said he was going to be a Brown. You can't listen to that
I
stuff.
said earlier, they also said Travis Hunter was this generational player. Where's Travis Hunter playing today?
You can't. You're not going to say, "Oh yeah, we might trade him." Yeah. No, I mean that's just. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So, although I think we're owed a lot of apologies for the people who said we shouldn't discuss Myles Garrett trades, we should have all along. And,
well, yeah, but
we don't need those apologies that are not going to come. But it's very clear that as great as Myles Garrett is, the Browns were kind of ready to move on from him. I think that was part of the deal here.
Here's the thing. I remember a very distinctive quote. This is about 2 years ago. I got at a game, and I said, the quote was, Myles Garrett is not going to be Joe Thomas.
That's right.
And what that signified was Myles Garrett had aspirations of winning a championship. And when that was not going to be on the table, I think he was pacified a little bit because Jim Schwartz was here. And he was fond
of money.
And the money. So he got the bag and Jim Schwartz was here. But when Jim Schwartz was not the head coach and he realized, okay, well, we going through another season, it's another person, it's a whole regime change, he's like, nah, I'm cool. You got to think about that. The same way Jim Schwartz handled it when he didn't get the job.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Myles Garrett felt the same exact way behind closed doors because he was the guy who put him in a position to win 2 Defensive Player of the Year trophies.
Yeah.
So that to me was the end of the line. And the Browns figured out, hey, listen, man, if Myles Garrett, you got to think about it like this. They already got a pseudo quarterback competition everybody's looking at. So then the first question, as you noticed, the questions around Myles Garrett kept ramping up. They kept ramping up. They started asking other people. Now what happens is Myles does not show up first day of camp. And this ain't OTAs. This is he has to be here. Then it looks wild. Then it looks you put yourself in another situation. So at the end of the day, they made the deal that was only available to him. Would I have traded him? No. That's just me as a fan, as a person who loves the Cleveland Browns and grew up watching the Browns as the only team I watch.
Yeah.
You don't entertain, in my mind, you don't entertain getting rid of Hall of Famers. We barely have enough people to watch the games as it is. But what are you going to do? This is the only deal that they can make. They got a player back with it. They got a pick back with it. Now the goal is, what are you doing moving forward? What are you doing in 2026? I'm playing these young dudes, man, and I'm going to see what we got. I'm going to find out if Shedeur Sanders can play football, and I'm going to find out if he could be a franchise quarterback. I said it on what I was talking about. Once you move on from Myles Garrett, then Denzel Ward's name is in the conversation, as Zach said. Once you move on, it makes no sense if you're going to move on from them, and we still talk about Deshaun Watson when Deshaun Watson is the reason why Myles Garrett is not on the team.
That's right. That's right. He's the biggest factor.
I don't So no, I'm not about to do that. I'll see if Shedeur can play. If he's a franchise quarterback, awesome. We got all these other picks that we could do something with and get better. If not, if he plays himself out of that position, then guess what? You win 3 games or whatever games you're going to win, and then you can have your quarterback.
By the way, when the Browns went to the playoffs, the year with Joe Flacco, in that fun run, what odds would you have gotten of Deshaun Watson being on this roster longer than Myles Garrett? You would not have gotten good odds on that at that time. It felt like the team was in the right direction and all these things, but who knows? I mean, in the end, Jason, I do think, obviously, Myles wanting to be gone, it played a role. I saw Jeremy Fowler say, Myles didn't ask to be traded again. I mean,
okay. Well, I told G. A lot of times this comes down to, I can't think of the word, but it's language. Yeah. You can ask for something without asking for something.
It's the nonverbals.
I do think it's clear that there was part of the like as a person, there may be like 90% of you that does something, and there's 10% of you that's like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or whatever. Yeah. And I think it's the same thing as an organization. As much as you as an organization don't want to trade a Hall of Famer, and he's a great player, there was a part of the Browns that wanted to move on from him and get the best trade. Because there were some negatives with him. They felt like in a leadership role.
I'm only going to say this. I'm not going to expand on it.
Yeah.
The Browns are starting a culture reset, period.
Yes.
And there's more to come.
And the new coach gets to do that with the players he wants to do it with.
There's more to come.
And plus, like you have to understand, this is what comes with it. Like, when you moved on from Stefanski, right? No, actually, to be truthful, let's go way back. When you moved on from Baker, that was a start.
Yeah.
You started off with moving on from Odell. That was a start. Then you went, and because of Baker, you got Deshaun Watson. When that didn't work, the dominoes continued to fall. Now you got to the point where Kevin Stefanski is no longer here. The new coach is a new dude. He has a blank slate.
And you could tell he knew they were going to trade him because he knew he was done. By the way, a couple of quickies.
Real quick, I texted you guys yesterday.
Yeah.
Like 3 minutes before the trade went down, I was listening to Monken.
Yeah.
At the golf course answering the questions. And I texted the group and said, bro, Monken hates Myles. He can't hide it. And whether or not hate's the right word, you could tell he was frustrated, annoyed with something.
Yeah.
And literally 3 minutes later, Jason puts in the group chat, boom, there it is. And obviously he knew. And Zac Jackson talked about, not in his interview with us, but in his article, that while Monken was talking at the golf outing yesterday, Andrew Berry was 50 yards in the parking lot pacing back and forth on his phone. Yeah. I'm sure that was with Les Snead, Myles' agent, somebody putting the final details on that trade because just moments later it was announced.
Well, I mean, Monken yesterday said he was never guaranteed that Myles was going to be here, yet at his opening press conference he said he came here because of Myles.
Yeah, right, which was
like, come on.
It was strange. Because at the time he didn't know that. But,
sure.
Of course. But they were talking about this for a while. This didn't just happen overnight, this deal. A couple other quickies, NFL-related, that we haven't mentioned just really briefly. Obviously, A.J. Brown, that trade gets kind of lost, but he was traded yesterday to the Patriots, even though that's been rumored for a while.
Diana Rossini vindicated. I'm allowed to say that now.
Yes,
I mean, that was.
She's not a coworker. She's no longer a coworker of mine.
Yeah, I like that. The Patriots.
I actually really like Diana.
The Eagles get a 27 fifth-round pick and a 28 first-round pick. And former Brown, G just mentioned him, Odell Beckham Jr. signs with the Giants to now go back to where he was the only time he was ever a good player with the Giants, or a very good player. He was an okay player here. But he stinks now.
Do you want some other NFL news? Just
What's
happened in the last 10 minutes?
Juju Smith-Schuster signing with the Giants?
He did, and the Commanders signed New Jersey Shore legend Anthony Frisker.
I mean,
To
that's
a
a big
one-year
one
deal.
right there. Anthony Frisker.
They released Ja'Cory Brooks.
Oh,
Hey, McNuggets,
how will they survive?
Hey, listen, I thought it's a perfect time to drop that. Remember you had that Joey Bosa conversation, that topic.
Oh, it's coming up tomorrow.
Joey Bosa, you know what I'm saying, backup defensive end, you know what I'm saying?
Why would Joey Bosa sign with the Browns?
You just got done saying you don't want to see anybody over 29.
Hey, listen, I'm playing antagonist right now.
Joey Bosa wants
Do you
to
laugh? We're doing that tomorrow.
Hey, look,